feel like we should have some special music for these field manager spotlights. So da-da-da. All right, Jennifer, thank you so much. I wanted to call on you to share your experience of how you approach providing feedback and some examples that you can share with the rest of the team.
David, I would be okay if you wanted to throw down some rap for me.
Nice. I can't do it. Can't do it on the fly.
On the spot, let's just flow. Come on. Good morning. I'm super excited to be here. I wanted to share a little bit of things I learned and was reiterated in the training. And just some good validation to know if I'm on track or if there's places I needed to expand and grow myself as a leader. And then share some of the things that I do with my team on a day-to-day, on a weekly, monthly coaching. So my talk track is around providing feedback, direct, objective, and specific. So first and foremost, I want to build trust and rapport with the team. So when it does come time to do feedback, it's not awkward, it's not intimidating, it's not tense. And so how do I build that rapport and trust? I think of myself as a coach, of an advocate for them. I love the example that Sakamoto gave, that his boss was there to help him get to the next level in his career. So how do I do it? I connect, guide, and I develop their skills, help them develop their own skills. What does that look like? Connecting is really building the relationship. It's the foundation. Guide, help them with sales calls, with prep, with planning, with forecasting, looking at where their gap to goals are. And then developing their skills, sit in on the calls, listen, ask for an opportunity to give direct feedback. We debrief on almost every session. Connecting, it needs to be authentic. I'll give an example of authentic connection with my team. I have a Sal that's on paternity leave, and I called him and he picked up and he said, "Oh, do you need to do a forecast?" And I was like, "No, I just need to know, are you okay?" He's home with a lot of babies and his wife's back to work, and are you okay? And then we did the forecast, of course, because I just was curious if he's working, where are we at? One of my top performance sales, when she overachieved her number for the year before the year was over, I sent her flowers. GitLab has a program for that. I wanted to celebrate her. We also did, everyone on the team logged into a Zoom and we did a dance party for her because we weren't going to be able to get together to do something. So celebrating in public, I think we all know that, but it's super important to be reminded. I do a public celebration every win that they have, whether it's a good meeting, development with a channel partner, or a win, a PO comes in. We have my manager Slack channel and the whole extended team's on there. And then they high five and they thumbs up and they put the emojis of the dancing penguin. Another one, Susanna had her dog die, so we sent flowers to her for that. So we find areas to show up for each other. So the communication ebbs and flows at all times. It's not just what happened to the deal. It slipped from commit. I have now this authentic opportunity, not just to connect on a personal level, but to coach and guide them, right? So it's kind of a soft point of entry. I also encourage my team to cross-collaborate with the extended team and with other teams. So then they're learning from each other and they're getting constant feedback from each other. How can they grow? How can they expand? Other places are celebrating in public, other than the Slack channel and our dance parties, QBRs. We do meetups. There have been some in public recently where we get to really celebrate and connect. I do feedback early and often, early before things go sideways, and often. These aren't just about sales drills. These are, one of my sales was really struggling on his QBR, because if you've been on the QBR and 75 people and half of them you've never met, he got nervous and his voice was quivering. So we did some nervous tension release. How can he prep better to be a better public speaker? It's not necessarily an easy call to call and say, hey, you're challenged on your ability to project on a call and feel super confident. Like, that was a welcome, and I did ask, can I give you some feedback? I've had some observations. I'd like to help you. One of my sales said she wasn't super motivated to work out. Yeah, so that's an issue. We need to have our physiology charged, be in a peak performance. I mean, a lot of this training is on peak performance. If we're lethargic and we feel like crap, do you think that's going to transcend through a really powerful sales pitch or doing an outbound call campaign? So I talked about what she could do to set her physiology to be a peak performer, to start her workouts again. She's working out now. I'm super excited about that. I also encourage the team with books to read, with podcasts to listen to. So they're indirectly getting coaching from me, but from other mentors. So physiology, physical, mental, emotional, their state is also part of my coaching. I want them to be in peak state so they can crush it when they're showing up for their prospects, for their team, so they can be a highly influential, high energy driven leader themselves. When the feedback is constructive or difficult, I open it up with a dialogue. Hey, we'd love to give you some feedback. Do you have some time? I also give them permission that if they're not in a good place that day, or they just had a rough morning, or the kid, we were on a call and Susanna during her QBRs had her daughter potty training. And if I wanted to give her feedback that maybe she wasn't in the mood to hear, because she'd say, I just wasn't in peak state that moment, they have permission to be like, not today. Just wasn't my day. I wasn't thriving. So I would like to postpone feedback, or maybe just not to receive it today. I personally want to do that for myself too. We know when we're at our best. So an example on when I had to give some not awesome feedback to one of my sales. He had a deal that was committed. It was in Q4. We weren't getting a response from the customer of when the PO was coming. I started to get the intuition of, oh no, this maybe isn't coming. So I reached out to the prime who was doing the project with us, escalated the conversation to a leader, and invited that person to the call with the customer. So in the government, we have a government customer and also a systems integrator. System integrator leader punted the call to somebody lower level, but still she had given the direction. The compelling event was ultimate for security challenges. They needed CI/CD with security to move forward because they had concerns of what the version that they were using of GitLab. So I was told and was fully committed to helping drive this deal to closure. I learned on the call with the salon that the customer was underutilizing the amount of licenses they had and had no intention to move to Ultimate. So we get off the call and I asked my rep to debrief and said, here's my talk track to that call. How do you think that went? And he shared. I said, what do you think we could have done differently? We arrived at a state that wasn't going to close a deal. It wasn't going to be in commit. It didn't just shift from that quarter. It shifted out. It still hasn't come in, honestly, and this was committed in December. So we have to shift and redirect. What could we do now? Next question. What did we learn? What could we do? What could he have done differently? And I'm putting ownership on him. I didn't misrepresent the commit. I didn't lose the timing and tracking of the deal or the budget or the funding. So what could you do? How do you think it went? What could you have done differently? What do you think you need to do now? That would be maybe the deal's dead, go find a net new deal, or go back to the customer and find a new date. Maybe we just shift the time frame. And then what insights have you gained? None of it's terrible. All of it's very introspective and gives him the opportunity to course correct or learn from areas of growth. And then would be, what do you need from me? It was a pretty challenging situation. That deal we needed collectively from him to close to make his number, from him to close to make my number. So we missed our number, and I'm not going to put that ownership on him. But if we had known data early enough, we potentially could have backfilled that deal. So we've recovered, and that communication was open. It was not hostile. I don't have concerns about hurting feelings. I'm here to coach and guide and develop, right? So there's permission to give the feedback. This is the kind of the structure too, and the tone. Where could we do? What could we do differently? What can we learn? So at the end of the day, accountability, they're accountable for the goals they set. And just because the topic is also peak performance and accountability to performance, we set quarterly goals based on the annual quota, and we break those down into monthly. That's about how do you create your pipeline? How are you driving your revenue? When are you meeting with the channel? When are you meeting with your inside sales team? And then each week we go backwards from here's your commit, here's your gap. How do you need to pivot and shift? We're constantly playing hot potato. Go, 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 go. Evaluate, pivot, shift. Backfill. So peak performance. It's a strong philosophy. I believe in it. I live by it, and I coach and guide my team to level up to that too. So I don't know if we have time for questions, or David, if that's a part of the structure, but I'm happy to either answer questions here, or if anyone wants to reach out on Slack, if I can help anybody, that was helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. Lots of key takeaways there. And yeah, I would love to open it up for any comments or questions that folks have. But a few notes I took, the being your authentic self and how you deliver that feedback. Everybody's going to do it a little bit differently. Feedback from each other, right? It's not just you giving feedback, but cultivating an environment where folks can lift up and provide feedback to each other, celebrating in public. And I love also that you said, yeah, sometimes it's about pipeline, it's about sales, but it's not just about that. It's really looking at the whole person. Asking for permission is now a good time to have this conversation. And then really asking questions to help facilitate that buy-in so that the person that you're providing feedback to really takes ownership of what those next steps are and how they can improve, et cetera. And then asking authentically, how can you help? So yeah, love all of that. So for the team, any additional comments or questions that you want to ask Jennifer? I see Helen, you've added a comment there in the chat. You want to verbalize that?
Yeah, I think one of my biggest takeaways from what you just said, Jennifer, which was awesome, by the way, is that all of your feedback and coaching has got to be done with the person in mind, because if they don't think that you care about them, they'll never take constructive feedback as constructive. They'll take it as an attack. So I loved everything that you were saying, Jennifer. Totally agree.
Thank you.
I think everyone's just astounded by the awesome insights, Jennifer.
The awesomeness.
So, there we go.
Thank you. Yeah, anyone can reach out to me on Slack if you want a one-on-one. I'm happy to support anyone.
Thank you.